Hello everyone, and welcome to part 1 of our Hwoarang Basics Guide. Hwoarang is a tricky character to pick up at first because his various stances and the way he moves between them, but we'll give it our best shot at discussing him in an intelligent way to get you started. In this first part, we'll talk about his essential neutral moves. In part 2, we'll talk more about his stances, specifically Flamingo, and how to flow between them in a way that makes for good offense. Then in part 3, we'll finish as usual with his punishers, some basic combos, some players you can watch, and a brief summary. As always, don't forget that there is a written version of this guide should you need it. The link is in the description below. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Hwoarang is a difficult character to discuss in an organized way, so in order to do so in a way that makes sense, we have to address a couple of things before we start discussing the actual moves. First, Hwoarang is unique in that he is always considered to be in stance. His starting stance is called left foot forward, or LFF, but is often simply called neutral. However, he also has right foot forward, or RFF, left flamingo stance, or LFS, and right flamingo stance, or RFS. Because of this, his move list is quite sizable. Since it's easiest to talk about Flamingo as a more traditional stance, we will save the Flamingo discussion for part 2 when we discuss strategy. I recognize that Flamingo is used a lot for Hwoarang, so they are considered essential, but it makes the most sense to limit the essential moves section to only LFF and RFF moves. Similarly, we are going to save some back turn stuff and discussion about flowing from stance to stance for part 2 as well. So after this video, don't feel bad if you're still struggling to put together a good sequence of moves, especially since we will be bouncing back and forth from LFF moves to RFF moves. The goal is to help in part 2 in putting it all together. Part 1 here is just to give you an overview of his best neutral tools. That being said, one last note about stance switching. Hwoarang can manually go into back turn and back to front turn with 1+2. He can also switch between LFF and RFF with 3+4. Note that holding back or neutral guarding in RFF will always revert you to LFF, so block punishing from RFF is not a thing you can do. But we'll talk more about this and manual LFS and RFS in part 2. Oh, and as far as notation goes, if no stance is given, assume that it's LFF. Hwoarang uses his neutral jabs largely as an easy way to get into Flamingo, and they come with both mid and high checks if someone is trying to mindlessly challenge the transition. Particularly on hit, you'll have big advantage going into Flamingo. Otherwise, he has a standard 1-2, so you can use them as you would any other standard jabs. His 2 jab has the same options for the most part and is also I-10, so you can get your transition from just a single jab if you want. RFF is a bit reversed. 2-1 is the quote-unquote standard jab string and still an I-10 startup. 2-1-1 and 2-3 are safe, chunky, natural combos that'll get you back to left foot forward. 2-4 is also NC, jails, can go to right flamingo, and has third hit options for additional cover, so it's a very, very strong string. RFF4 and its follow options are the same as 2-4. RFF 3-4 is an I-16 mid-high natural combo. It goes to right flamingo with big plus frames on block and hit. 3-4 forward cancels to right flamingo early if you want to try to catch people trying to duck the 4. Can also end in right foot forward by holding forward, which is 3-4 forward, but it's typically not as advantageous. Standing 4 is an I-11 high kick. Unfortunately, no magic 4 for Hwoarang, but 4-4 and 4 forward 4 are both natural combos and safe ways to get to right flamingo or right foot forward respectively. If they try to duck and punish the second hit, you can always do 4-3 or a safe mid check. This is also a natural combo, and you can cancel into left flamingo with 4-3 forward. If your opponent is really button happy against 4-4, you can do 4-4-4-4 or 4-4-4-3. But this is really risky, so not recommended. 3 slide 4 is a long range mid-mid natural combo, only -3 on block with some pushback, so retaliation is risky for your opponent, and it low crushes and will also wall splat. Nothing to spam, but it's a nice little tool. RFF 3 slide 4 is the famed Marn's leg. Thank you, Eris, for that. It's an I-27 power crush launcher, +4 on block. Notoriously good whiff recovery, but because of its speed, it is duckable on reaction. It's still a really good big damage threat, just be careful abusing it. Forward 2 is an I-16 mid, -2 on block, +9 on hit. Very safe, easy poke to get to right foot forward. These two high kicks are two sides of the same coin. Forward 4 has a big active window, I-17 to I-23. It's +8 on block, +19 on hit, and ends in RFS. You get a free RFS forward 4 on counter hit as well. RFF forward 3 is very similar, I-14 to I-17, +13 on block, +24 on hit and counter hit, and ends in LFS. Or it can also end in back turn right foot forward if you do RFF forward 3 back. So these are moves you will use to try to start some flamingo offense. Forward 1+2 is a safe I-15 mid counter hit launcher, +2 on normal hit, nothing fancy, just a solid mid check. This is generic down forward 1, -1 on block, +6 on hit, one of his basic tools that can be done from both LFF and RFF. Down forward 1-3 is a mid-mid natural combo, still +6 on hit but forces left flamingo. -2 on block though, so it can be really risky if you're not reading your opponent correctly, since -2 going into left flamingo is not that great. Generic down forward 2. I-15 safe mid launcher, although it will only launch duckers if it's counter hit. Another tool that you have in both LFF and RFF. Spam this as often as you can. It has one of the best risk versus reward ratios in the game. Down forward 3-4 is a mid-mid, first hit is a power crush, -14 no matter if you do one or both hits. However, down forward 3 can cancel into left flamingo with down forward 3 forward, but you still get the armor, so you'll see this used a lot as an approach tool. This is another example of similar moves done from opposing stances. Down forward 4 is a safe I-16 mid homing move that also tail spins, +8 on hit, knockdown, wall splat on counter hit, and ends in RFF. RFF down forward 3 is very similar. I-20 will always knock down and gives a free follow-up attack, still safe at -9 and ends in LFF. Also does a little bit more damage than down forward 4, but they both do a nice chunk. RFF down forward 4 is an I-13 mid poke that offers a quick, easy way into RFS with plus frames. Free RFS forward 4 on counter hit. Down 3-4 is an I-17 low-high natural combo, +8 on block, +15 on hit, and ends in right flamingo. This is one of his primary offensive starters, so you'll use this a lot. I would say most Hwoarang players probably use this as their #1 move, since getting this kind of advantage from a low is extremely rare in the game as a whole. The biggest risk is that if they read it, you can duck the second hit and launch it. Otherwise, go ahead and spam this at will. Hwoarang doesn't have a toe kick from standing, so these are worth a mention for high crushing low pokes from neutral. Down back 3 will give better frames, but down 4 has better tracking. RFF down back 3 is very similar to LFF down 4, but slightly quicker and better frames. In both cases, you have a follow-up launching hit that can be ducked unless the low hits on counter hit, but the threat of that second hit should grant you a little bit more mental frames, which makes it about even with a toe kick. RFF down 4 is an I-19 low, only -11 on block, +5 on hit, +15 G on counter hit. It does have suspect range at times, but it does some chunky damage, plus the advantage you get on hit to continue pressure. Down back 4 is another move that you get from both LFF and RFF. It's an I-16 low that serves a similar function as down 3-4, which, that being said, although you don't have to, you should probably always go into right flamingo with down back 4 forward, since the frames are all much better. With down back 4 forward, it's only -1 on block, +3 on normal hit, and +10 on counter hit, which gives a free RFS forward 4. Another great offensive starter. Back 1 is an I-15 mid punch, very punishable if they read it, but it moves him to the right very fast, so it's a really annoying panic move. RFF back 2 is an I-16 mid punch, +4 on block, +6 on hit, and a knockdown on counter hit for a free follow-up. Stays in right foot forward, very simple, solid pressure tool. Back 3 is your primary whiff punisher. It's an I-16 true mid launch, solid range. Have this ready at all times. Just be careful about throwing it out at random, since it's -19 on block. Note that RFF forward 4-4 is very similar, except it's I-18 and only -13 on block. Also, back turn RFF 3 and back turn LFF 4 are additional versions, but those are I-14 and still only -13 on block. More moves you can do from LFF and RFF. These are safe high counter hit launchers. Back 4 ends in right foot forward, while back 3 ends in left foot forward. These are a really good way to quickly switch between LFF and RFF while attacking, and if you get lucky, you might catch a counter hit and get a juggle. The only real difference is that back 4 is I-14 and back 3 is I-13. RFF back 4 is a quick, safe, high crushing counter hit launcher, chunky damage on normal hit along with plus 13 thanks to the spin status. Excellent tool against people trying to challenge RFF, especially if they're doing so with jabs or other quick highs. Again, more stuff you can do from both LFF and RFF. Both of these are low crushing kicks that go to left flamingo and right flamingo respectively with plus frames. Big differences are that up 4 is faster and mid, up 3, although slower, is more plus on block and an actual launcher. You'll probably get more mileage out of up 4 just because of the speed, but up 3 is a decent move as well. Up 3 plus 4 is Hwoarang's Orbital, again a move you can do from both forward stances. It's a safe mid low crushing launcher, has suspect range at times, and of course it's a little slow, but orbitals are always good. Forward 4-3 is a little slow at I-22, but it's mid and gives a super consistent plus 3 on block, hit, and counter hit. It also forces crouch. It ends in RFF, so another good way to get into RFF with advantage. RFF forward 4-3 is a safe long-range ground hitting power mid. It's very similar to LFF forward 4-3, except the RFF version is a low crush thanks to the jump, but it's also -6 on block, so it's not something you'll use to continue pressure. Still an excellent Oki tool. Forward 4-4 is an I-17 long-range power mid, -7 with pushback, gives a knockdown or wall splat, and ends in RFF. This is a move you'll see Hwoarang spam a lot thanks to the range and speed. The pushback also sets up nice RFF whiff or counter hit possibilities. RFF forward 4-3 is a jailing mid-high natural combo. It knocks down and wall splats, plus 3 on block, and ends in RFF. Good pressure tool, especially at the wall. Forward neutral down forward 4 is the just frame version of crouch dash 4, which is important because this version is safe at -8 on block, whereas normal crouch dash 4 is -18. Once you get this down, it becomes invaluable since it's a big damage mid launcher that's super fast at I-16. Once you get good enough with it, you can use it almost in the same way as you do back 3. Otherwise, it's just outright amazing to catch people ducking or maybe sneak under a high now and then. While standing 4-4 is an I-11 safe mid-mid natural combo, -5 on block, plus 4 on hit and counter hit. This can be done from his crouch dash, which by the way, a quick note that he can wave dash. While standing 4 alone is also really solid, just like any other while standing 4. It's only -3 compared to -5, but you do lose that chunky second hit. While standing 4-4 ends in right foot forward, so even at -5, you have crush and armor options to fight against buttons. Really, really good move. Running 3 is a low crushing knockdown splatting mid, plus 6 on block, fairly standard for a running 3, but running 3s like this are always good as both an approach and pressure tool. Of his 2 rage drives, down 3 plus 4-4 is the one I think is actually useful. It's a beefed up version of down 3-4. It's quicker at I-12, it's a low mid instead of a low high, and it has a third hit that's plus 7 on block that ends in right foot forward. It's a really good way to get strong pressure going when down on life. Also useful as a juggle ender. And finally, his super. We normally don't mention supers because they're often fairly generic, but he has one of the few really notable supers in the game. It must be done from Flamingo, but it's safe on block and has really good range. So not only should you not get killed for using it and getting it blocked, but it has a bit more use as a whiff punisher thanks to that range. This now brings us to the end of part 1. Again, don't be too hard on yourself if you still feel like you're having a tough time putting together a good sequence of moves. This part is just to get you focused on some of his stronger neutral moves. We'll help you more in part 2 on how to put it all together, so be on the lookout for that video. And with that, thank you for checking out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Also be sure to turn on notifications if you'd like to get alerted as soon as a new vid is uploaded. I try to stream whenever I can, so the link to Twitch is down in the video description below. You will will find Twitter and Facebook links down there too. Lastly, heartfelt thanks to our 3 patrons, Tato, Apples, and Overhaul. That support means a lot. Patreon is definitely the best way to support your favorite content creators, and the more support the channel gets, the more content I can afford to do. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you next time.